Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new to my channel, hello, my name is Gabby and I have a series on my strange little channel called Conspiracy Thursday, where every few Thursdays I do a different theory video talking about all sorts of different theories, and this is by far my most requested theory video, so I figured it was about time. I knew it was going to be so much researching for this video that before I sat down with my computer, I literally got snacks, water to stay hydrated, and did like a breathing technique. The case of the Zodiac Killer is just one of the most popular in our history, and for obvious reasons, it just leaves you with so many questions. I tried to do the best research I could for this video and provide tons of pictures for you guys, so I really hope you enjoy. It's just a very chilling and interesting case, and the theories behind it really get you thinking. So with that being said, let's just get into it. The Zodiac Killer is a serial killer whose identity still remains unknown. He terrorized Northern California in the late 1960s to the early 1970s in a series of killings, leaving behind taunting letters to the police, including cryptograms for them to solve. There were a total of 4 cryptograms. The first cipher was a simple substitution cipher and was solved pretty quickly. It read, "I like killing. It is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill. Something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and those I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for afterlife." He said bizarre and twisted things in these letters and signed them with his signature symbol of a circle with a cross in the middle. In his last letter, sent in 1974, he claimed to have killed 37 people, but police have only verified 5 killings and 2 he left injured. On December 20th, 1968, it was Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday on Lake Sherman Road. On July 4th, 1969, it was Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mujo at Blue Rock Springs Park. Michael did survive the attack though. On September 27th, 1969, it was Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell at Lake Berryessa. Brian survived the attack, and this was the composite sketch done of what he described the killer looking like as he approached them. Then on October 11th, 1969, the Zodiac murdered a cab driver named Paul Stein in Presidio Heights. 3 teens on the street witnessed the killer getting into the cab, and this was the composite sketch done of what they said the man looked like. There are possible guesses as to who his other victims may have been, or if he was even telling the truth at all about how many people he killed. He said that if all the cryptograms could be solved, that it would tell of his identity, but even after all these years, they have failed to be decoded. But there are no shortage of theories behind who he may have been. Here are 3 interesting theories about the Zodiac Killer. The first theory that I'm going to be talking about is a very popular one, and that is that the Zodiac Killer was identified by his son, a man named Gary Stewart. Gary Stewart was born to parents Earl Van Best Jr., age 27, and Judy Chandler, who was age 14. Their relationship got a lot of publicity at the time because of the age difference, and it was called the ice cream romance. Not long after his mother gave birth to him, his mother and his father dropped him off in an apartment hallway where he was rescued and taken in by loving parents. His mother Judy contacted him when he hit adulthood, and he started learning more about his biological father. Stewart released a book in May of 2014 titled The Most Dangerous Animal of All, where he claimed that his father was in fact the Zodiac Killer. Some of the supposed evidence to back this up is the very obvious resemblance between Best and the very popular Paul Stein sketch done of the Zodiac. But we also have to take into consideration that more people through the years said that they had seen the Zodiac, and they all gave pretty similar descriptions of him, saying that he was a white male, average height around 5'9" or 5'10". He was a pretty big build. He was a bulky guy, very heavy set. He had reddish brown hair in a crew cut and wore glasses. Nothing like the composite sketch done of the teenager's description after the Paul Stein murder or what Earl Best looked like. But another bit of supposed evidence Stewart claims points to his father being the Zodiac Killer is because one of the decoded letters spells out Best, which was his father's last name. A handwriting specialist also compared Best's handwriting from a marriage certificate to the handwriting of the Zodiac, and they are very similar. But it was later found out that it actually wasn't Earl's handwriting. It was the priests of the church. Stewart says that his father's fingerprints also match that of the Zodiac's found at a crime scene in 1969. Both have diagonal scars going across one of their fingers. Also, a publicist named Chris Harris was in shock when he saw Stewart's book, and he came forward with a very strange story. He says that while reporting on the Zodiac case back in 1969, he was at a diner not far from where the latest Zodiac killing took place. He says he recalled sitting next to a man who looked quite a lot like Earl, and the man randomly turned to him and said, "You have no idea what it's like to have to kill." There's just so much to this theory, it's crazy. Another strange thing is that Gary's mother, Judy, went on to marry a man named Rotia Guilford, who was coincidentally a San Francisco homicide detective who worked on the Zodiac case. Gary claims that the department knew that his mother's ex-lover was the Zodiac Killer and that they kept it a secret to save the department from embarrassment and to save the reputation of Rotia and Judy. They also didn't take much interest into his fingerprint claim, saying that there just wasn't enough evidence. In today's time, Gary is waiting for a DNA test to see if his DNA, since he is Earl's son, matches to the supposed DNA of the Zodiac Killer found at crime scenes, saying it will be interesting to see what happens. The second theory is a less popular one, but that is that the Zodiac Killer may have been a police officer. There are a few reasons why people may think this. During the Blue Rocks Springs killing on July 4th, 1969, Darlene Farron, 22 years old, and Michael Mujo, 19 years old, pulled into the parking lot. A few different automobiles pulled in and out of the parking lot in a few-minute period, but a strange brown vehicle came back to the parking lot a second time. This man got out of his car not long after and shone a high-powered flashlight at them and asked them for their identification before shooting 5 rounds through the window at Michael and a few more at Darlene. Michael lived through this tragedy and told investigators that he thought the man was a police officer because of his demeanor. So this made people think that maybe the Zodiac Killer was a police officer, and some theorized that maybe he was just a wannabe police officer that possibly went to police academy and never finished, and he pretends to be a police officer before some of his killings to gain the trust of his victims. People who believe this theory say that the Zodiac Killer was obviously very strategic and that he might have had some inside knowledge about police procedure. A lot of times he made attacks in public places, and he might have had inside knowledge of police scheduling and where police officers were at the time to know that no officers would be at his location and he would be able to successfully commit his murders. There's not really a ton of substantial evidence to back this theory up. It mostly is just speculation, but I do understand why some people could think this. People just simply think that to outsmart police for so many years, you may have been an officer yourself. The last theory that I'm going to be talking about is probably the most popular one, and it's the one that most people from what I was seeing online do find most reason for believing, and that is that the Zodiac Killer was a man named Arthur Leigh Allen. In October of 1969, Sergeant John Lynch, who worked at the Vallejo Police Department, was investigating the shooting that happened at Blue Rock Springs Park when he took a trip to Elmer Cave Elementary School, and he ended up talking to a man named Arthur Leigh Allen. Sergeant Lynch didn't make it known why he was at the elementary school or why he decided to start talking to Arthur, but he questioned him about his whereabouts during the Lake Berryessa attack. And Arthur was indeed in the area, and he was acting very suspicious. As time went on, more and more people thought that we may have finally found the identity of the Zodiac Killer. For one, a friend of Arthur's told police that Arthur told him he liked being called the Zodiac even before there was a Zodiac Killer, and he usually wore a Zodiac brand watch. The day of the Lake Berryessa attack, Arthur supposedly came home to his family covered in blood carrying a knife, but later told police it was because he just got done killing chickens. During an interview, it was made known that his favorite book was The Most Dangerous Game, a book written by Richard Connell, released in 1924. If you all remember, this book was alluded to in the Zodiac's letter in the 408 cipher that said, "Man is the most dangerous animal." The list of things that make it seem like this man could have been the Zodiac Killer is so long, and it's absolutely insane. Like, I will read some of it for you right now. In the year 1978, Arthur was fired from being a school teacher for accusations of child molestation, and he was finally arrested for the crime in 1974. He spent 3 years at Atascadero State Hospital until the year 1977, and no Zodiac letters were received by police during this time. Before the killings occurred, Arthur told his friend Don Chaney he had ideas of writing a novel, and the book he wanted to write described the Zodiac killings almost identically. Michael Mougeot stated the killer was driving a brown vehicle that looked like it could have been a Corvair. Arthur's friend Philip owned a brown Corvair, and Arthur was allowed to use it whenever he wanted. A man named Ralph Spinelli said that while in prison with Arthur, Arthur admitted to killing Paul Stine. Michael Mougeot was the only one to see the Zodiac without his mask on, and he picked Arthur out of a police lineup. Arthur wore a size 10.5 shoe. That is about the size of the shoe print found at some of the crime scenes. In the year 1991, they searched Arthur's house and found a diagram for a bomb. The diagram included ingredients that were mentioned in Zodiac letters. And there's tons and tons and tons more. This theory is so widely believed that it was the main part of the plot in the 2007 movie Zodiac. But unfortunately, this case still remains unsolved, and the theories behind it are endless. Theory 4. Ted Cruz. Just kidding, but I hope that you all enjoyed that video. It was definitely by far one of my most requested videos to do on my channel, so I hope that I did a decent job. And as always, all my sources for where I got my information will be linked down below if you want to learn more about what I talked about in today's video. I love researching information for videos. This was like the information goldmine. There was just so much to it. My brain was like throbbing at the end of it. But anyways, if you enjoyed that video and you're not already, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave any recommendations for video ideas down below in the comments. I read every single comment, and I also wanted to say thank you guys so much for getting me to 20,000 subscribers. I kind of teared up a little bit the other night. I love you guys so much, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!